What's going on today, guys? We're back again with the Ninja 500. I've done a few things off camera. First off, I've took the battery out and charged it, and I took the carbs out and I gave them another cleaning, but this time much more intensely. So I'm hoping that fixes some of the problems. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the battery back in, get it all connected, and try firing it up again. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let me update you on what's going on with this bike. Now, I've done a lot since the last video. I had kind of like a big break in my filming because I was really stuck on what was going on with this. So in the last video, what we did was we tried starting it, I think, and it was running kind of. It ran for a few seconds and it wouldn't turn on again. So my thought process was maybe the carburetors weren't clean enough. So after that day, I took them off and I cleaned them. I opened them up, sprayed everything inside super hard with all the carb cleaner I had. Sprayed them twice actually, closed them up, put them back on the bike, and then I tried starting it again, and we weren't getting anything. Wasn't catching, wasn't seeing any smoke from the exhaust, any puffs. So I was really lost. So I thought maybe I messed up the fuel ratio. Maybe it was getting too much or too little. So on these carbs, on every carb, there's like a screw on either the engine side or the intake side that controls the air mixture or the fuel mixture. Brain dead. Yeah, so I just adjusted it. Mine's on the engine side, meaning it adds fuel if you open it, pretty much. So I just kept messing with it. One turn this way, one turn that way, messing with the bike. Wasn't catching, wasn't seeing any improvement, but from the exhaust, I could smell raw gas. So I knew for sure that fuel was going into the motor, but it wasn't burning. So I thought, that's weird because I put in new plugs. You guys saw that. I took out the plugs and they were wet. They were black. So that was bad. I assumed it was because maybe I had turned the fuel up too much and just flooded it. Well, not really flooded it, but just way too much in there. So I wiped off the plugs and I put them back in. Wasn't working still. Then I found out that I hadn't torqued them down properly. I hadn't tightened them enough. Now, I don't own a torque wrench, and well, I'll buy one in the future, I hope, but for now I just don't have one. So without a torque wrench, you can still put spark plugs in, but there's a different way to measure. So in the book, in my service manual, it says when you install spark plugs, you hand tighten them until they're tight, and then attach a ratchet and turn it a quarter. And that should be tight enough to make a good seal, good ground, and all that. I had left these at like an 8th turn. So I thought maybe they weren't sealing and maybe like it was losing compression because it was seeping out through the threads, or it wasn't, I don't know, ground properly, so it wasn't getting a good spark. Either one of those things could have happened, and that's why those plugs got covered in fuel, I'm guessing. So I tightened them correctly. Oh, also on the forums, they recommend a half turn or a quarter. And on NGK's site, NGK is the like OEM plug, so they say a half turn or a 2/3 turn. I thought that was a bit much, so I did it to a half turn, and then I tried starting it, and I could tell there was a difference. I could smell in the exhaust that it was less raw smelling. It smelled like smoky and a bit of raw gas, so it was kind of working. Then I took them out again and I tested the plugs against the frame just to see the spark, and I could see that it was super weak. It was really small and it wasn't like frequent. When I tested them when they were new, it was like super strong looking, thick spark. It's white, bright, and very constantly sparking. So today, what we're going to do is I bought 2 new spark plugs. We're going to check the gap on them this time because I didn't do that either the first time. I bought a gapping tool. We're going to check the gap. We're going to put in these new plugs. I'm going to show you how I ground them out and see the plugs spark. And as well, we got a new battery right here to put in bike, because the one that I keep charging keeps dying after like 3 cranks. So I'm guessing this is just too old. Oh, another thing is, you may have noticed this sitting here. This is the final piece to the body. Finally, I have a full set of fairings now. This one is probably the worst shape. See right there, the whole section is chipped off. It should look like that. But we're gonna have a different video of me fixing that. So today we're gonna put in these plugs, we're gonna put in this new battery, and then hopefully that should make this thing run, because I can't think of anything else. Alright, so let's start with removing the old battery. I've done this so many times now. So there's a bracket over the battery, and it's a 10 mil, and that bracket holds the I guess the ECU of the bike, the main computer. And it's just 1 bolt that holds the bracket on, and then there's 2 screws for each terminal on the battery. We're going to leave that off to the side and remove the main battery now. And I've read online that you want to remove the negative side first, and when you put on a battery you want to attach from the negative side first. I don't know how true that is. I don't know what other people believe, but that's how I take off a battery. Oh god, these are heavy. Let's the old battery out. Alright, so here's the new battery. It's an AJC. Yeah, this is a Walmart battery, so it's pretty cheap, but it should work enough, work enough. One thing I don't like about this battery though, instantly, is the terminals. You have like screws that go in here that you would connect your cables to, but this one, it has this bolt, you see. It has like a nut and a bolt, and I have to put the nut under the terminal. Let me see if I can get it to zoom in. I need to put the nut under this terminal and then put the screw on top, and then so it pinches the thing properly. And that is kind of dumb in my opinion. But oh well, it's what I have right now. So let's drop it in. Like this is such a pain to put in now. This is a dumb design. And you might think, well, just put the screw in without the bolt. Well, the terminals on here don't have threads. So it's like relying on this nut. This is a dumb design. I don't like it. At least it's functional. I did get it on. That's the one side done. Let's get the other. There's the bottom piece. Well, it looks like you can just line it up in there, so I guess it's not terrible. My main concern was like getting my fingers in there, but it looks like they have some system to line it up. At least that's something. And I did check this battery last night. It does have enough voltage. So we're gonna cover this up now. So now with that in, let's put this this plate back in, this bracket. So it's got a thing that slides into this hole, like that, and a bolt goes right here. The harness is a little bit in the way. Alright, now the battery's in, it's secured. We're gonna move on to the spark plugs now. Let's see what's going on with them. So I've got my wrench and extension, and I'm going to make sure it's set the right way. There we go. It's a hard spot to get it to fit on, but we go around. So after a little difficulty, I got one side off. You can see this is the better of the two. The other one I know is like much darker than this. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this off and plug it into the wire, and I'm gonna show you guys what's going on with this plug. We're gonna touch it against something metal, and we're gonna try starting. We're not attempting to start, we're just trying to show the sparking. So this one is working better than the other one, so I'm still gonna replace it with a new one. Okay, so I have my new plug here, and I checked the gap. It's good. It's all good. So now I'm gonna show you guys what this looks like on the wire. Now we're going to touch it against here, and then we're going to try starting it again. Okay, I don't know if that was honestly better or not. So now I've got the new plug-in on this side, and I've gotten it hand tight. So now we're going to attach our ratchet. There we go. And we're going to do a half turn. So starting from here, that's a quarter. And that's a half. We'll put on the plug, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I suspect the other side is maybe the reason it won't start, because that side's a lot worse last time I saw. And there we go. When you hear that click, you know it's on. The right side plug is a lot easier to get to. The left one has a lot of wires going over it, which makes it kind of difficult to get the socket down straight. And once it's on there and loosened, you can just continue by hand. So. There we go. You see this one, the whole tip is black. You can't see that white insulator in the middle at all. See that? So I'm guessing this one's probably messed up. This is probably done. I could maybe use the one that came out of this side if I need to, but I think this one is probably trash. But just to test it, because I'm curious, I'm going to put this in the plug and see if I get anything from this. Let's see, what's a good shot? Over there? Just aim it at that. Right here. Okay, that actually did spark, but I don't know what to make of it. Alright guys, it's a bit later and I am utterly lost. I took it out and I wasn't sure what would happen, so before even recording I just tried starting, nothing happened. I turned the pivot, was the pilot screws on the carbs. Wasn't changing anything. I made sure that they were tight in there. They are. They're gapped correctly. They're within spec. I started checking like the cap resistors. These things, they have to be a certain number, and I only checked this side and it seemed fine, and I didn't check the left side because when we were touching the metal with the spark, it was sparking, so those are working right. So I'm really stuck. I don't know what's wrong. Can't figure it out anymore. I got this bike since I've owned it, I've got it to start like 3 times, and right now it's not giving me anything. Well, of course it's cranking, it's turning over. That new battery is working well. It lasted a lot longer than the old one when I was cranking it, but cranked it so many times trying different stuff that now it's dead. So not dead, but like too low to crank anymore. So I guess, I don't know, leave a comment if you have an idea. So we're gonna move away from the engine for a bit because I'm really mad at it, and I'm gonna fix these taillights. Now this taillight, it works. It also has integrated turn signals that have been like ripped apart, and I started this like months ago, but I just never put them together, so I figured out which wires go where. If you own these taillights, This is what it looks like. It's tinted, it's LED. But I have two yellow wires that come off. One of them, you need to connect it to a power and then to a ground. But in between the ground and the yellow wire, you need to put a resistor, and then you get your proper flashing. So I've taped these already. So right here we got a yellow wire and a black wire. That's yellow wire to the light, black wire is my power. And over here, this is the ground. So gotta throw a resistor in here, throw it onto that, and it should work. Alright boys, here's my resistor. It's pretty long. I probably could have made this shorter, but I wasn't sure. So there we go. Once I hooked up to the ground, once I hooked up to the power, and the lead to the light. Let's see. I think this is. Did nothing. What? What's going on here? That's some bullshit. Guys, let's check this out. They are working. Let me click the other side. Look at that. Let's try the hazards. Perfect. These are pretty cool lights. So what I did was right. It turns out the connection before the connection I made was shoddy and loose. So I took that loose wire out and just connected it to where the loose one was, and now it works. These are kind of lengthy, so I'm not sure how I'm going to tidy this up. But hey, man, that's a win. That's a small win. So I guess that'll be the end of this video. Leave a comment if you got an idea what the hell is wrong with this, and I'll see you next time.